Hello, welcome along to Sportsbet TV with me, Paul Alster. Well, it has arrived. The Cheltenham Festival is imminently upon us and starts on Tuesday. And 4 fantastic days, of course, always amazing. Win, lose or draw at the Cheltenham Festival with 28 races to look forward to. Now, I'm delighted to say that over the last two Cheltenham Festivals that I've been involved in presenting my thoughts and tips, we've been very successful. And I'm hoping it's going to be much of the same, even though I have less tips to offer you at Sportsbet this time. But I am hoping to be able to offer at least two every day. And that is the case for day one coming up on Tuesday. I have two selections for you, but I also have a further 5 selections available at my Out in Front new subscription service on the Patreon platform. And you're invited to take a close look at this and click on the link below this screen and sign up to get my thoughts on so many of the races at the Cheltenham Festival. And of course, going through after that every Saturday and Sunday and all the big meetings. And it's now all available at a 50% discount of £25 per month. It really is great value. We want to get as many people involved as possible. So do give that some consideration and click on the link below to look at that. Also, of course, here at Sportsbet, if you happen to be joining me for the first time, please press the subscribe button. You'll get my free tips every time I post them on this service. So let me move on to the first selection, and it is the opening race at Cheltenham when that amazing roar goes up from the crowd, 70,000 crowd or thereabouts. It's going to be soft ground, and it is the Supreme Novices Hurdle. Now, it's off at 1:30. There are 14 runners declared. This bulletin, by the way, being recorded at 10:30 on Monday morning, and the odds I'm suggesting are all correct at the time of this recording. Now, the horse that has been the long-time favourite for the Supreme Novices Hurdle is one of 4 trained by Willie Mullins. It is Facile Vega. And this has been a very, very high-class horse, and of course won the Festival Bumper last year, landing plenty of bets, and went on then to win the Punchestown Festival Bumper. So the top bumper horse in Britain and Ireland last season. And it was very impressive on its first 2 starts over hurdles. It won a Grade 1 at Leopardstown at Christmas in very, very good fashion. But then it all went wrong at the Dublin Festival last time out. Probably went off a stride or two too fast. But the way it capitulated before the final flight was really worrying, I thought. Now, there's never been a proper explanation put forward as to what happened. The fact is that Paul Townend, the stable jockey, remains loyal to the horse. But having been beaten when 4-9 favourite, and in what is now a stronger race, I'm reluctant to support Facile Vega. He may well bounce back, and it might have just been an off day. We all have off days. But I'm not prepared to take a chance. And he's not the kind of price that I like to recommend, because I'm always looking for each way prices, and he's just a little bit on the short side. Now, one horse that's done absolutely nothing wrong in its career so far is Marine Nationale, another Irish raider. The Irish have a tremendously strong hand at the festival, and particularly in this very first race. Now, Marine Nationale is trained by informed Barry Connell, and he made it 4 wins from 4 starts when he got the better of a horse called Irish Point by a head in a Grade 1 at Fairyhouse in December. Now, he hasn't run since, and they've been keeping him fresh and well, and that could be a good ploy. And on top of that, the runner-up Irish Point won yesterday in a Grade 3, so that has given the form even another boost. So I certainly respect Marine Nationale. Now, what's going to fly the flag for the British in the Supreme Novices Hurdle? Well, it looks as if it's going to be Paul Nicholls' horse, Tamarus, who won the Grade 1 Tolworth Hurdle at Sandown in January, and the soft ground should be absolutely no problem to him. But does he have the class? On the official ratings, he does have quite a bit to find, but you've always got to respect the champion trainer. And one of the more fascinating runners in the race is the former high-class flat racer, High Definition, who's with Joseph O'Brien these days, but was formerly trained by his dad, Aidan, a season back, and he was rated 119. He was running in a lot of the top Group 1 middle distance races. And he made a good start to his hurdles career, really, beating 26 rivals on his debut at Leopardstown in a maiden hurdle. And that was on Boxing Day. And he was upsides the leader when he unseated his rider at the fourth flight in the Grade 1 at Leopardstown last time out. Now, he doesn't look the most natural of jumpers. He's got his own way of getting from A to B. And that's always going to be a bit of a worry at Cheltenham, more than any other course. The fact is, though, that High Definition has a very, very smart engine. And if he can keep his jumping tidy, he would have to be a danger to all if he's anywhere near the lead going towards the final flight. But because of the potential jumping frailties, I'm reluctant to recommend him. My choice then for the first race at Cheltenham 2023 in the Supreme Novices Hurdle is Il Était Temps, trained by Willie Mullins and ridden by his nephew, Danny Mullins. Now, this horse took advantage of the fact that Facile Vega ran a poor race last time out by running on to win in very impressive fashion at Leopardstown last time out. That really was a very, very good performance. Now, would he have won had Facile Vega brought his A game to the table? Hard to say. It's hard to say he wouldn't. And because of that, I think he really does represent the value because he's getting better and better. He'd previously been just beaten 4 lengths by Facile Vega at the Leopardstown Christmas meeting. And I think this horse is improving at a rate of knots. He's going the right way. Question about Facile Vega is whether or not he has maybe got some sort of an issue. All will be revealed just after 1:30 on Tuesday. Now, we know, and Willie Mullins has made it clear, that much as he likes Facile Vega and really thinks he's a great horse, he also holds Il Était Temps in very high regard as well. And so I just think that this horse is the solid call in the opener. And he was 6-1 a day or two ago. He's now down to 5-1, but still represents an each way bet to nothing as I see it. So I'm going to be with the grey Il Était Temps, 5-1 each way at the time of this recording, and that's for 4 places with the likes of Bet365, William Hill, Corals, Ladbrokes, Bet UK and Betfred. It might be, but by the time you see this recording, or if you want to place a bet nearer the time of the race, the odds may be bigger. Then again, they may well have contracted. But at the time of this recording, 5-1 each way is my choice for Il Était Temps. And I just want to point out as well that there is another horse in this race that I think has a very big chance, and that horse is at much bigger odds. I'm going to be mentioning that to my followers at Out in Front, and I will actually be splitting my bet between Il Était Temps and the horse that I'm going to be putting up for my followers at Out in Front. So another reason to check out the link below this screen and maybe consider joining us on the premium service. And I'm going to move on because it's a similar story that there are 2 horses that I fancy at Cheltenham in the 450. And I'll be splitting my stakes between them. One of them I'm presenting to you here, the other one at Out in Front. They're both very big prices. Now, of course, cast your mind back 2 years to this race, folks. Those of you that have been following me a long time, it was our finest hour when, of course, Jeff Kidder went on to spring the biggest shock in a handicap at the Cheltenham Festival, in the history of the Cheltenham Festival. He won at 80-1, and he was my selection. I made the case for him, and he cut through the field like a knife through butter and won in great style. So this race has been very, very good to us. And it was also good to us last year because I put up a 33-1 chance called Bellex 1. And that one ran an absolute cracker, just beaten a length and a half, finishing 3rd. For a very big each way profit in this race. Now, this time, as I say, I fancy 2 runners. There are so many with chances because this is a race for 4-year-olds only. Many of them are improving, many of them are unexposed. A lot of them could be better than the handicap mark at which they're racing on Tuesday. So it makes for a really, really challenging puzzle to try and figure out. But I'm always up for a challenge. Now, Willie Mullins, once again, by the way, I think he's 1-8 to be top trainer at the Cheltenham Festival, Willie. I'm pretty sure he probably will finish with most wins, although I do think that it won't be quite the cakewalk that some are suggesting. But he's got a horse called Tikal, and this one was third in a Grade 1 last time out at Leopardstown. So clearly he's a very, very classy horse for JP McManus. And he's around a 9-2 favourite, best odds at the time of this recording. Some are only going 7-2, so some bookies are already running scared of a Tikal victory in the Boodles at 4:50 on Tuesday. And the bookies are also always scared of the Irish trainer Charles Burns. He's got Blazing Cal and others, but he's also got a horse called Biker going in this race, a horse who was third at Naas last time out, and he could be on a good mark, Biker. It remains to be seen. Another horse about which the bookies don't have a clue, really, and so they're boxing very, very careful, is the unexposed Ben Pauling trained Bad. What a dreadful name for a horse, Bad. It's never run in Britain. It's had 3 runs in France for a previous trainer, was second twice, and won once on heavy ground. And here it is coming into a handicap on its first start in Britain for a new trainer off a mark of 126. And Ben Pauling has booked the great Rachel Blackmore to ride it. So that is, I suppose, a tip in itself. And I'm just having a glance here. Bad is a top priced 8-1. In fact, there's a couple of firms now going 17-2, 8.5-1. But they're certainly taking no chances on a horse that's never raced in Britain and Ireland, never run in a handicap. You really just don't know. A few others that I just want to give a quick mention to before I offer my big prize selection here. Sir Alan, I think, is likely to go very well. Perseus Way for Gary Moore, can see him being on the premises. And one of the Irish raiders, Morning Soldier, is one that was on my shortlist. And I could easily see Morning Soldier going well in this race. He's currently a top price 25 to 1 shot. But as I say, there are 2 that I give a real proper chance to at very big odds. One I'm presenting at Out in Front, and I'm splitting my stakes between that one and a horse called Gordon's Aura. Now, Gordon's Aura is trained by Gordon Elliott and is the mount of Sam Ewing, a jockey I like very much indeed. He's equally good on the flat or over jumps. He's a real dynamo, is Sam Ewing. And this horse is a bit of a quirky so-and-so. He's the type of horse that could either down tools or come through and win the thing. And at the odds that are on offer, I think it might be worth taking a chance. He was a really frustrating maiden on the flat in Britain when trained by Sir Mark Prescott. He was placed once, but he was a beaten favourite 4 times. And then they decided to get rid of him. He's by Golden Horn, so he's bred to be a good one. And Gordon Elliott's connections picked him up for just 16,000 guineas at the autumn horses in training sales, and he made his debut for Gordon at Cork in a 3-year-old maiden hurdle in December. And then 16 days later, he finished an 8 lengths, 8 of 18 to none other than Tikal, the horse that with some firms is the 7-2 favourite. Now, he ran really well on that start behind Tikal, and he's actually £13, nearly a stone better off for the 8 lengths that he was behind Tikal. So on that piece of form alone, you'd have to think that Gordon's Aura is by no means a no-hoper. You've got the current favourite at 7-2, Gordon's Aura, at much bigger odds. After that, he was 4th and he was keeping on at Cork in a maiden hurdle in January. That actually was his 3rd race in just 4 weeks, so they certainly kept him very busy. And then he didn't get the best of runs as he was trying to go after them at the second last, when he finished 3rd to Biker, another of the horses that is one of the favourites for this race for Charles Burns. That was at Naas in January. He was actually giving Biker weight. He was giving him £5. And in the end, despite not getting the best of runs, he was beaten only 8 3/4 lengths. And he is now £11 better off for those 8 3/4 lengths before you take into account the claim of the conditional rider, Philip Burns, the trainer's son, Charles Burns' son. So against both Biker and Tikal, Gordon's Aura is getting a really good pull at the weights, having certainly not finished at all far behind them. Then after that run behind Biker, he went on and won at Fairyhouse. He won his maiden recently on February the 8th, And then he had a spin on the all-weather when apparently they reported he hated the surface. So you can ignore that, but it will have kept him fit. Now, as I say, he's a quirky so-and-so, and without putting too fine a point on it, it could be a little bit of a dog, this horse. But he does have ability, and those are sometimes the type of horses in a big field where it's all happening around them. They suddenly fancy themselves and think, well, I quite fancy the job. And that might be the case with Gordon Zora. And I think the weights suggest that he's been overlooked in the betting. In a similar way, to some degree, that Jeff Kidder was when I made the case for him. Of course, Jeff Kidder went on to be a Grade 1 horse. I don't think Gordon Zora will be a Grade 1 horse. But I do think that he does have a sporting chance. And at the time of this recording, at quarter to 11 or whatever it is now, on Monday morning, he's 50 to 1, 50, 50 to 1 each way for 6 places with the likes of Paddy Power and Bet Fair and also Unibet. And he's been available at 3 figures, I've already noted, on the exchanges. So those of you with exchange accounts, you could certainly take a look at him for not very big money each way at up to 3 figures. Also remember always to shop around, because as we get closer to the race itself, there's going to be loads of firms looking for your business. They may well be offering bigger odds and better place terms. But Gordon Zora is my selection. Just to repeat, I do have another one in the race that I fancy equally as much, and I'll be splitting my stakes between that one and the other horse that I'm presenting later in the day at Out in Front. So those are my 2 for you at Sportsbet. Free advice for you. Gordon Zora in the 450 at Cheltenham and Ilete Tomp in the opener, the Supreme Novices Hurdle. It's going to be a long week with loads of thrills and spills and ups and downs. Let's hope we get off to a good start and get a bit of a shout from our 2 runners. Whatever you back, I wish you the very best of luck, and I'll be speaking to you again the same time tomorrow with my selections for Wednesday. Bye-bye for now.